Do you know the difference between the force of prayer and the power of prayer? I don't think so. If you did, the earth and its people would not be in such an awful mess and be poised on the edge of the ultimate in disaster. If you allow it, I am going to present to you a way of prayer, a new way to pray, a way to save the earth and its people of the future. Whether you consider yourself an atheist or materialist is irrelevant. Terms like those are a way of entertaining yourself and have no real meaning. You are a human being. That means you pray. Everyone prays. You are praying at this moment, only you don't realize it. It is that unawareness or ignorance that has brought humanity to the verge of annihilation. Prayer is the most effective, misused and misunderstood force in the world. You are praying when you are ambitious or working towards an end, when you attempt anything or feel threatened. You pray every moment by hoping that your plans will work out, that what you are trying to do will succeed, that your next baby will be a boy or girl, that you won't get sick, that you'll be able to keep a date. And you pray every moment by expecting that what you own will be there when you want it, that your lover still loves you, that death won't trouble you today. You pray when you are being greedy, when you have your eye on the only plate of prawns on the table or the last drink. When you are impatient, angry or desiring sex, you are praying very intensely. To exist and survive in this world is an activity of constant prayer. Vibes, rays of vital force, radiate out from you into the world as continuous projections of hope. Hope that you will get through and not fail in existing or what you are doing. The more concentrated and intense you are at any moment, the stronger and more forcible are your vibes or personal prayer waves. Sometimes they reach the equivalence of violence. All this would be harmless if the prayer waves coming out of us were ineffectual, as we all seem to imagine. But they are not. They are energetically substantive and accumulative. They have been building up since time began, and today, in their global interaction, form the world's most destructive and diabolical invisible force.
Chapter 2.
Since everyone seeks and prays continuously not to fail, and as prayer is the most effective force in the world, there should be no failure in the world. Failure occurs because success or gain can only come to you at someone else's expense. For you to be a successful poet, politician or business person, which means that that is your constant prayer, some other poor poet, politician or business person has to fail or lose. There is only so much of everything in the world, and that includes success or gain. The success of the world is represented at any moment by what each of its 4,000 million people have gained. Only so many can be rich, because only so many can be poor. The cake of the world, like the energy of the universe, is only so much. There is ample to go round if everyone had only what they needed. But since so many have prayed for and grabbed more than they need, it is no longer possible for the original losers to get back their share. Somebody like us has already got it. The haves like you and me who can afford the luxury of praying or vibing to be successful poets, politicians or business people, are merely playing or praying among ourselves with someone else's share or loss of cake, while they toil or pray for the mere success of not starving. That's why success seems so abstract to us. It's lost the reality of an empty belly. However, we in turn are the poor to the rich of the world. The rich, who are few in number but nevertheless have grabbed the most cake or booty, do not struggle or pray to eat or to be successful poets, politicians or business people. The rich pray only to be successful at wielding power by economic force, which is to keep the share out of the cake fixed forever as it is. The prayer of the rich is the mightiest prayer in the world. It holds the world together so that all the haves can continue taking and having. So to succeed in anything, whether as an individual, an organization or a nation, we have to take from some other person, some other organization, or some other nation somewhere. Which doesn't say a great deal for the way of prayer or the way of life we've devised, does it? Still, if our prayers work towards success, how does anyone actually lose? Because some of us are praying or vibing for the success of one thing, and others are praying for the success of its opposite. One cancels the other out, or the strongest prayer eventually wins. But it can be quite a drawn-out tussle for all but the rich, as living shows. Also, some of us are actually vibing or praying for the failure of others, or other things. And the success of praying for another's failure is, of course, for them to fail. Then there are the half-hearted prayers which get overwhelmed by more intense prayers. And so on. But you'll notice that most of your regular vibing or praying, such as that involved in getting you to work each day, succeeds most of the time, as long as it doesn't clash too much with what others want or are praying for. Prayer works, and always towards success. Otherwise you couldn't make any arrangements at all. You are able to pray pretty confidently by making plans to go on holiday on a certain date, and most times you make it. You can usually manage to keep advance appointments and to watch your favorite television program. You pray to keep your job and generally do. But if you get lax in your vibing or someone starts vibing against you, you might lose it. The whole world of circumstances is the meeting of these multiple billions of prayer waves or vital forces which humanity is giving out. Some harmonize and help each other. Some are inconsonant and oppose each other. And some attract each other but are inconsonant at the same time. So two cars collide, a company crashes, someone starves to death on the other side of the earth, or a pub full of people gets bombed. All is the blind force of unconscious, irresponsible personal prayer at work, the uncertainty of living.
Chapter 3.
Now we come to the other kind of prayer, the deliberate prayers of all those children, not to mention adults, praying every night and day the world over for someone or other to be blessed or especially favored. of you and I praying for a small miracle when we're in a tight spot, and of billions of others praying indiscriminately all around the earth to right the world's apparent ills. At this point, I have to ask you a question, very seriously. Did you really think that all those innocent-sounding prayers could be projected continuously into the world by generation after generation without setting in motion some sort of law of cause and effect? Did you perhaps even venture to assume that if nothing else they were harmless? If such prayers are not effective, why does humanity pray and always has prayed? And if its prayers are effective, who said they're only effective of good? Have you ever thought about this? I ask you another very serious question. Do you really think you know what is wrong with the world? Sufficient to take it on yourself to pray to try to change it for what you think would be better? And do you trust the judgment of all those others, including the children, who also are praying because they think they know what's wrong or good? Would you pray so easily and sleep so untroubled if you knew that the effects of all your prayers, and not just the effect you are praying for, would come back on you? In a word, are you prepared to be answerable in your own life for all the changes involved in making the change you pray for? Because that is precisely what happens. All the prayers of the human race, the personal vibing and the deliberate praying for something, knit up together. And remember, this has been going on since time began, with the prayers or vibe waves contending with each other to work themselves out as circumstances in the world, and continuing to do so ages after the generations who vibed them have been forgotten. The result is that a stupendous ferment of unexhausted prayers, a mighty field of force, has built up around the simplicity of the earth and its people. This is the world. And now the force of the world has reached flashpoint, disaster point, not for just one nation this time as it did in 1945, but for all nations. You don't have to believe me. Keep checking with the daily news media and listen to the growing public protests of the worried people of the earth. All I'm doing is telling you the cause. The combined effects of all humanity's prayers descend continuously on humanity. Those effects are the condition of the world at any moment, the circumstances in which you and I and the rest of the earth's people must endeavor to live our little lives. What the world is facing today, with justified trepidation and a deepening sense of disaster which will turn to terror, is a mighty moving mountain of undischarged responsibility for our blind, selfish, and irresponsible praying. It is here. The force that went out of us and made the world what it is has returned to claim its source. And it's about to come down on us. There is no escape. It's heads down for all of us. In the time we've got, let's get it right, or more right, for the time after.